Yes, welcome to Satsang, welcome to meditation, and a warm welcome, of course, to all the friends who are joining us today on this very special day. In English, in English-speaking countries, it's called Good Friday. It's actually, maybe it should be called Sad Friday, because our dear, beautiful Jesus has been crucified on this day. So I don't know why it's called Good Friday, but maybe it is Good Friday because Jesus is teaching us something that most of us misunderstand. And maybe I also misunderstand it. Maybe it's arrogance that I say I know something that other people don't know. I just have a very strong sense when Jesus was crucified and was suffering, there was this incredible moment where first he was arguing with God still, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why were you, not here and took me off this horrible situation on the cross? And then something happened that, in my sense, got misinterpreted quite a bit. There came a moment where everything in him relaxed, and from the depths of his inner knowing came, "Thy will be done." And how I understand "Thy will be done" is really everyone's situation when we are caught in our ego structure, when we are caught in our personality, when we are caught in our limiting belief system. We argue and we label our experiences. We interpret them as good or bad or right or wrong or high or low. And things simply are. And when we come to that place within, where it's not just a concept, it's a direct recognition that whatever is happening with me, inside of me, in this moment of life, cannot be otherwise. For many years I kept this quote from Osho in my room, and I think I talked about it many times, but if we really understand this quote, we are free. He said something like, "Accept yourself in tremendous gratitude." This is unconditional, just accepting yourself in whoever you are. No fact ever creates any psychological pain. Now, if we let that in, our ego structure will intensely and vehemently argue, say, no. Especially in these days, where there's floods here in Australia and thousands of people are suffering, they have become homeless. There's this crazy war in Ukraine that is escalating, and many other things where our ego structure and our righteous mind will always argue with the fact. But then we miss the point about the inner fact, about our inner state that can never be different than it is. So no fact ever creates any psychological pain. It is your interpretation that brings pain. Change the interpretation and the fact becomes pleasant. Drop all interpretations and the fact is simply a fact, neither painful nor pleasant. So that really points towards our labeling mind that can only survive by separating from our experience, especially around the outside world and other people. If everything is as it is, we don't need a mind. Then things are, and in the isness of things, we are present. And when we are present, mind or future or past reveal themselves as illusory because they don't exist. This is only now. And now is in itself not changeable through our mind. It's just what it is. But when something within us relaxes into this mind, into this moment, into just what is, what could that mean? Maybe somebody upsets you, and what we normally do is we jump onto the person that upsets us and prove them wrong. Or we jump on ourselves and feel ashamed that we have these thoughts. But to just let things be can only happen when the I, the ego, is not there, is not in control, doesn't have the reins of our life in our hands. Then things are the way they are. And what does that mean? Somebody upsets you and we experience the upset rather than react to the trigger. And the moment, I know this is kind of one of the many principles of counseling from the heart. The moment I allow myself to be upset and be the space for the upset, there's an element of awareness coming in that has been hiding behind the content of upsetness. And then suddenly the whole upsetness disappears. And I know many of you that are listening today and here, you have experienced that. No? When something is lived completely without any division, without any resistance, without any choice. Choiceless awareness is another important set of words. Then that which is aware falls back onto itself and recognizes itself again as awareness. And there is the peace we are looking for. Wouldn't it be incredible? Now today is Easter and there is this kind of huge situation where there are all these rituals and ceremonies and happenings in all the different churches who believe in Jesus. And that very teaching, I don't know if it is really passed on so clearly, that in this moment Jesus gives us one of the biggest teachings, thy will be done, which means there is no my will separate from the big will. And that is a space. And if I recognize that I'm a space for every experience, then every experience is simply part of life, part of the coming and going. And in this way, in itself, not permanently real. So nothing that we identify with as an outer object or as an emotion or as a thought is ultimately real. It's a big one. You know, when I hear myself say this, when it hits me, it just catapults us out of identification into the blissful isness of things as they are. Can you follow that? Here, the friends, I need a little feedback from the online friends also. If you follow that, can you do like this? If you feel it's too much and Rahasya is just rambling, then you do this. Okay? Because this is big. If this is understood, then anything we identify with is revealing itself as not being true. It's not wrong, you know. We can identify with the body, but when we recognize we are identified with the body, we already know we are not the body. Or we identify with a new car. And when we recognize the identification, because there's space for it, then it's a joy to have a new car, but it has nothing to do with me. Car comes and goes. Now, Jesus brought this to an extreme, and unfortunately, many of the great masters had to go through intense suffering to wake up to this insight and truth and realization that makes Al-Hilas Mansur, this beautiful mystic, you know, makes him absolutely amazing, because what the people around him did, because he couldn't follow the religion around him, they started to stone him and hack him to pieces. Slowly, slowly killed him. And he was just laughing. He said, "You can kill my body, but you can't kill me, so go right ahead." Now that's a bit extreme, but that's what Jesus also kind of taught us. No? So then, unfortunately, out of this teaching came a belief in Jesus' miraculous deeds. Because the ego loves miracles, it's special. The ego loves, you know, something outlandish, something that is not palpable and something that cannot be proven. No? So the resurrection story is actually a very real story, because what resurrects is that which could never be killed. That which is aware, and Jesus woke up to this intense awareness the moment he relaxed on the cross. And then apparently there's different stories, and one story that I really like is that he actually didn't die on the cross. He was taken down earlier and was, you know, and they were hiding him in a cave, and he escaped quickly to India and lived a long life and got buried in Kashmir. But that is too normal for the miracle need of people. for the need to believe. So unfortunately, we were told as Christians to believe in the only begotten Son of God, which makes it again special and distant. I cannot be that. And in reality, everybody is Jesus. As what? As awareness, as presence, as love, as peace, as silence. I think it's fascinating how that works. But it's also understandable. I mean, I lived a long time in Bavaria, and in Bavaria they have these really beautiful churches, and there are many pilgrimage paths through the mountains, through the area before the Alps, or near the Alps. And on these pilgrimage pathways, there are so many crosses with poor Jesus suffering, hanging on the cross. Because people can relate to Jesus much more through projecting their own suffering on this poor man. In India, things would look very, very different. In India, one of the main gods is Krishna. And Krishna is not hanging on the cross. He's kind of dancing, and he has 30,000 girlfriends. That's a bit much, but why not? And he's playing the flute, and he enjoys the senses and the beauty of life. Another approach in celebration of that which flowers out of nothingness. But beliefs create a clearer sense of identity. The Christian belief creates the idea, I am a Christian. And it is absurd, because other people then believe, I am a Muslim, or I am a Jaina, or I am, a Jew. And immediately there is this compartmentation, the division between one group and the other group. But because we haven't discovered yet who we are, this goes on and on and on. And right now, the whole world is celebrating Easter. And maybe that's why it's called Good Friday. If we use Good Friday as an invitation to waking up to the truth of what is, to waking up to that which is aware of every experience and knows clearly that everything comes and goes except that undescribable nothingness called awareness that we refer to each time we say I. It's fascinating, isn't it? So fascinating. But this explanation of mine is perhaps much too simple. You cannot write 1,000 pages of philosophy, of religious history, of all these immense, wonderful stories. And there are many amazing stories, like a beautiful entertainment. But truth is very simple. But the strange thing in everyday life, with any experience, we get tempted we get tempted to attach to positive experiences and make an I out of it. And we get more tempted to identify with a negative experience so we can feel ourselves being resistant to it, resistant. So, Good Friday. Now this morning, the family of my beloved and the grandkids and kids and everybody was gathering in Clunes to celebrate at 10 o'clock eating cross buns. Now, I have no idea what that has to do with Easter. Do you know anything about that? No. Warm cross buns with butter. I mean, it's very nice. It's a beautiful way to... There's a cross in it. Yeah, there's a cross in it. Mm-hmm. And perhaps to remember that the Lord died for us on the cross. But the cross has a totally different meaning also, which we usually don't hear. You see, the cross is the pointer that in normal life we live a horizontal life. We go from here to there. We look from me to you. We hear from me to the sound. We use all the senses to be pulled outside and returned with an interpretation. So it's a horizontal line. No? Just like if you look at our life, we were born and then we are young and we get older and then we die. So it's kind of a line. No? But there's another line that not so many of us experience. But of course, pretty much everyone that is here with us and listen to this have a sense of that when time disappears, when we are totally present, the horizontal living turns into vertical living, into deeper me, into deeper experience of now, into deeper realization of something that has not been seen before inside, into the vertical ascension, which in Tantra it is described as from the sexual energy into the sensitivity energy, into the melting energy, into the heart, from sex to love, and then from love to devotion and prayer, and from devotion and prayer to oneness. Basically, that vertical ascension. And that is what the Christians projected on Jesus after he died. Well, my guess, he ascended much earlier, or he discovered much earlier this vertical flow that is hard to explain. The best way to explain it is the different levels of consciousness, from the absolute unconscious collective to the, actually from the cosmic unconscious to the collective unconscious to the personal unconscious to the conscious, that's here, then we are present. And then from the present moment consciousness to the superconsciousness, the personal superconsciousness, where we begin to see energies and so on. Then to the collective superconscious that brings us into the realm of the angels and the devas, and then to the cosmic conscious, which brings us to the realm of the divine, which is just a refinement of the frequency of our own energy. And ultimately it appears like light. And this is what we often recognize that. You know, when you have a friend and you wanted them to learn meditation or do a course like the Path of Love or a Vipassana retreat, and then they come back and they look and feel so much lighter. No? It becomes visible, but it's not the body, it's that which shines through the body when the superconscious begins to function within us. And a byproduct is that we feel more and more one with each other, with everything that appears and disappears. Does it make any sense?
Yeah.
Good. So, to support this a little bit, you know, for our meditation, I was kind of tuning into our soma, and what came was the pure, clear, white quintessence called Serapis Bey. I don't know too much about Serapis Bey, except probably that he discovered a space within himself that is pure light. And that space is available for all of us. So I want to invite you for a little ritual. You all know it. You're going to get 3 drops on your left wrist. And imagine you get pure light. You get the frequency of infinite, limitless, boundaryless consciousness. We have access to this any time we turn within and go deeper than the content of mind. And that links us to the infinite wisdom of the universe, that then perhaps can embody itself through us and our actions. So if you could stand up and make your left wrist available. When you receive Serapis Bey, rub it into your wrists and close your eyes and feel into this frequency. It's almost like we internally zoom out and move behind all phenomena. And then you can raise your arms high above the head and imagine you're growing wings from the core of your spine to your fingertips. Wings of an angel, wings of a light being. And then you can open and close your wings above the crown, crossing over at the midline of the body. When you open your wings, just imagine you're opening to the whole universe, infinity. And when you close your wings above the crown, embracing that same vastness within, what we call the inner sky. And then opening and closing your wings around the forehead center, the third eye. In the opening the curtains of our projections, of everything that we label. And in the embrace, embracing that clear seeing, our capacity to see beyond the labels into reality, like a crystal clear vision. And then opening and closing your wings around the throat chakra. Opening the curtain of our beliefs, which means we're open to an element of not knowing, to the unknown, and then further to the unknowable. And in the embrace, embracing that capacity to express ourselves from the deepest truth we know. And even more than that, to speak from the unknown. And that's where the highest creativity arises, that spontaneous expression that comes unprepared. And then embracing the heart. In the opening, drawing the curtain of all our ideals and shoulds that oppress the heart since our childhood. And in the embrace, embracing our open heart, our innocence, our deep compassion and love. And then we can rest with the heart for a moment or two, absorbing the light of Serapis Bay deep in the silence of the heart. And then opening our wings again and embracing the solar plexus. In the opening, another curtain, actually more an armor. Just imagine you can take off your armor, your shield, your weapons, lay down your protection and be naked. And in that nakedness we are strong and vulnerable. And there's a joy of simply being a unique expression of the one divine essence. Embracing your uniqueness, embracing the joy to recognize there's no one like you in the whole universe. And then opening and embracing the second chakra, the feeling body. And in the opening, we can create space for all these little and big emotional wounds that we carry for so many years. Not remembering or recognizing that they are past. And in the embrace, embracing the capacity to sense and feel and hear and smell and taste and see just what is. Then every sense becomes a door to our innermost shrine. And then opening our wings around the first chakra, the root center. Opening to life itself that flows the whole time while this body is alive, flows through every cell. And all these cells come and go. We are constantly changing. The body appears to stay the same, but it's constantly in a flux, in a change, in a movement that is witnessed by that which is aware. and tenderly held by that which is aware. And then along the legs, all the way down, connecting with Mother Earth, a good moment to let go. Just offering to the earth everything that you know, everything that you have identified with, everything that is not needed just now. Just becoming empty, empty, empty. And in that emptying, just recognizing that I'm still here. That which never comes and goes is always here. And this is the deepest recognition of yourself that you can have. And now as we come up, unwinding our wings around each other in a backward spiral, like unwinding any residues of the fibers of the holding mind. And for a moment standing open. Perhaps you can even get a sense of your light being. And then bringing your palms together and your wrists close to your nostrils. Taking 3 deep breaths of this fragrance into the temple of the body. It's like breathing light. Very good. And then we can sit. So I want to dedicate the light of the candle today to the true Jesus and to all beings that can recognize their Christ consciousness and see themselves as light. In my sense, this is the only way that peace can return onto this planet. So to all of you, very good. And I think we just sit now. Mm-hmm. We maybe sit for half an hour. Really nice sitting. boundless peace. Drink the silence. Feel how in this moment, in this depth, there's no separation, no I, no you. Just like a silent lake of consciousness. No ripples. from the depths inside, we can take a deeper breath and gently becoming aware of the body again. You could sit another hour. Anyway, this is available always, every moment we turn in, every moment we don't park in any phenomenon, we are home. And all we can say is Om Shanti, 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 Om. May all beings recognize their true nature. May all beings know themselves as that which is aware of all experience. May all beings be free of suffering and pain. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So have a wonderful rest of the day, rest of the evening, rest of the week, and we have another satsang next Friday. Invite your friends. And thank you so much for being here, in form, in cyberspace, in presence, in consciousness, and many, many blessings.